the nature of your emergency?
So, let's get started. Good morning, police, fire, military, and families. And to everybody who is listening in on the Tactical Living podcast, I'm your host, Ashley Wilton. And it is so crazy, you guys. I've been racking my brain. We have Mr. Jeff Robertson on the show today. And everything that I've done with his research, and even from the start of him asking to come on our show, it's like this deja vu where I feel like I've met you before, Jeff. I know that we haven't, but then in our Facebook group, there's other people who have, and everybody was really excited to be able to have you on. So thank you so much for waiting as long as you did.
I was thinking about that this morning. I said, I think me and you started coordinating last summer, or maybe a year ago, and it was you guys were booked out that far. So it's a testament to just how your show is. But yeah, man, thank you. I really appreciate it. But I've had this one on the calendar and excited just to come in and speak with your group and get to know everyone a little better. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, so cool. So everyone is telling you good morning here in the chat. And, Jeff's over there in 5-degree weather, and I'm here. I think we're going to be up to 68 come Sunday. So quite a bit of a difference.
Yeah, it's I get to go to Reno next month, and I don't know that it's going to be like super warm, but January where I'm at and most of February is generally pretty cold, and then we get back to into our 50s and then slowly in our 60s, 70s. So January, February in Southwest Virginia can be a little chilly.
Yeah, we have a lot of people from Virginia, so I've been thinking of you guys. I'm glad that I'm not you though right now, because that's just too cold for me. So you have a really interesting story, and I'm wondering if you could just talk to us a little bit about how somebody goes from being a police officer to owning a gym, and then we'll talk about what you're doing now.
Yeah, so my journey into business became kind of forced. I was working my way through my public safety career, and I started getting into this situation where I was getting all the signs to change, and I wasn't willing to listen to them, and I knew that I needed to change my way. So life came along and changed it for me. One night, DUI, arrested in my home county by one of the state troopers, and that put my law enforcement career. That was the ending moment for that. And where I like to tell people here was where that career ended is where a lot of folks didn't understand was I had done public safety since I was 15 years old. I went from childhood into a volunteer rescue squad, and then we called it public safety where I'm from. So I started into that journey at a young age. And by the time, blue lights came on and ended my career, if it didn't have lights or sirens, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to read a tape measure. I didn't know how to do just basic balancing. Tones would go off or calls would come in, and I would go respond to those. So that was kind of my life up until my moment of my arrest when my career ended. And then just sitting in my living room, I had done undercover work for many years, probably 7 straight years, and then not really getting to know who I was. So life, where it ended, it actually, like looking back on it, it's easy for me to say now, life really began. But man, it was a struggle. It was a struggle for me to be able to bridge what skills I knew in public safety, like communications and leadership and all the things that we know that we devalue because it comes kind of easy to us, or we do it repetitively all the time. That's second nature. So bridging those skills into business took me a little longer than what I think it should have now. So when I'm mentoring people like, hey, let me help you speed this along so you don't get stuck. So that's kind of how it started. Was I landed in a local dealership, family owned, knew everyone, and they wanted to grow, and they were like, we're going to give you the boundaries. I knew technology because I did a lot of anything related to exploiting internet, things along those lines. So I had the law enforcement background of exploitation of just technology. So I got some books and started figuring out how to use that technology or use those skills in SEO and web development, things like that. So that's basically how it started for me. Was I self-taught myself digital marketing. And then as time went on, got around the right people and joined a gym. The gym that I joined was a Fit Body Boot Camp. And the first class, it reminded me of being in the police academy. And I was like, you know what, I love the group. I love the camaraderie. I love all the things. So the day that I had my first class, I was like, you know what, this is something I really would like to own someday. And then I slowly made my way into being a coach for the gym that I was at, and then onboarded in with them as kind of their director of operations for a while. And then COVID came along, and I was in the process of kind of buying and opening up my own Fit Body Boot Camp. When COVID in Virginia, they shut down gyms. So we went from like April 15th to July 1st without being able to operate. So anything that we kind of put in place, we had to shelve. And then July 1st of 2020, I reopened one of the locations that we had to close. I had bought it, and that was my segue into gym ownership. So then I ran a gym for a handful of years. And the cool thing about having a franchise gym is I spent 10 years in the dealership, and everything that the dealership had taught me and allowed me to learn and just a lot of sweat equity inside that job and learning marketing and persuasion and sales and things like that. The gym really helped put together with some really good systems and processes. And that set me off into just kind of where I am now, as I'm no longer in the day-to-day operations of the gym. And so I moved into leadership coaching and just and spent a lot of time teaching AI and marketing and sales to companies too. So there's a lot of twists and turns in there, y'all, that is defines and a lot of roadblocks and things along the way. But it sounds really like, oh yeah, it was super simple. It wasn't. It was a struggle, but fortunately, life sent me the right people, and now I enjoy telling a story and kind of the journey and helping people walk through their own ways and sometimes get out of their own way. So.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for sharing your vulnerability with what happened with getting the DUI. You're not the only one. And I think it's such an important story to be able to hear somebody who came out on the other side in the way that you have. And what do we got here? Finally hit double-digit temps. It's 22 degrees. Yeah, I'm sending everybody a big warm hug in like the warmest sweater that I own. So I'm sorry it's so cold, everybody. And I'm wondering, when that happened to you, I can't imagine that it was easy losing your career as a police officer. What made you decide to go in this crazy route of self-development, which most people, they don't do, right? Especially as police officers. And then to have that lead you to where you are now. What was that decision instead of going the other way?
I say this, and this is, I think I coined my vernacular. It's like I like to say things, but I've always kind of said, hey man, you got to figure out what makes you tick. And one of the hardest self-reflecting moments is when I was pointing out all the world's problems, and life kept slapping my hand, and the fingers was coming back at me. And probably one of the best moments that will set you on a path was I became a dad. And when I became a dad, I was like, all right, all these things, all the stuff that I am, all the reckless behaviors and destructive habits and all the things that I've carried, I got to figure this out, because I don't want to pass along to my son at the time and then on to my daughter. It's like I don't want them to experience life the way that I have. So I went on just a relentless pursuit of figuring me out. And what I realized, y'all, was I spent a little bit of time mad about what I'd lost and kicking the can and frustrated about losing my career. But what I didn't see at the time is what life had given me. And life had set me on this whole new journey and path of being able to use, my shortcomings, where I had fallen short in moments like these, and, helping folks navigate, but then realizing that helping people, I was born to help. That's, if you look at Jeff as a kid, if you look at Jeff as a whatever, I've always had something to do with trying to help folks, and especially the adventure that public safety gives us. But here's what I figured out with me was my childhood was what it was, but I had these little moments of like just whether it's a relative, we had a little chaos. My grandfather was he drank more, gunplay. Cops was at our house a little more often for some of the things going on inside our family than others. And then dealing with some death at a young age, it was kind of growing up in chaos. And then at 15, going into just continuing that, is I never really got to know and figure out who I was. And being survival mode is what I kind of point out to people now. And when they're repetitively doing knuckleheaded things, like, hey, come here, let me talk to you about survival mode. So I was kind of stuck in survival mode, is what I figured out years later. That's where it started, everyone, is I really started as like, all right, why do you do what you do? Why does when everything's going good for you, Jeff, you're in this good spot, you're making good money, and why do you come along and try to self-destruct or sabotage that because you're just waiting for that bad moment to come along? So I really went to work on me and figuring that out. Reading, I was never a big reader, but just jumping into personal development books, finding different things, got my financial house in order. And I didn't realize how much that contributed to sleepless nights. Now looking back on it, is between survival mode, trying to live life, balancing, doing a poor job of maintaining relationships, is I probably slept, when I lay down, I probably slept only a few hours of a good night's sleep, just because my brain, when I would lay down, my brain would come to life. So here's me. If y'all hadn't figured this out yet, I don't mind talking. And when I started kind of figuring different things out, was the more I talked about and just shared my story, the more someone would come along and say, well, let me tell you about me. And that kind of led me years later into podcasting and some of the stuff I do now, because it's connected a lot of like-minded individuals, and it's helped me process understanding moral injuries, understanding PTSD at our level as public safety operators, and helping me make sense of childhood all the way into my gateway into public safety, all the way into, well, you know what? I absolutely overindulged in alcohol way more than I should have. And in my world, it was, it was one of the nights I could close my eyes and go to sleep. It turns out it really wasn't helping me at all. It was, anti everything that we thought it was, because alcohol might put you to sleep, but it just was a horrible night's sleep, and you wake up in a fog. So just those compounding habits, and got to the point to where I just couldn't figure out a lot of what was going on with me. So that was kind of my pursuit, was let me figure out me. And, as the part I always like to point out to everyone was I lost a little bit of my purpose. But once I started focusing on like, hey, wait a minute, this is made to help people. This is made to help people. Is my motivational factors for me just internally started coming back. And I was arrested by a state trooper, and I never really connected with him. I apologized in court. I did a weekend in county, apologized in court, and he and I never really connected at all. He had tried to make contact with me at some point in time, and then I found out that he had passed away. And just like, how it is, and I'm still in that network of people's like will call me and check in with me like old friends or what have you. Somebody calls, say, hey, just so you know, Trooper Austin passed away. It's like, oh man. So here I am at the gym, y'all, and I have, I end up getting my members in. Life is going good. And I had this member that had joined me right when we got open, and her husband connected with me maybe a year or so later, and he was just sharing with me what an integral part that I had been to his family, and what a difference I had made with his wife. And he was like, listen, man, I didn't know where our relationship was headed. They had a They had a newborn that had passed away and had put their relationship in turmoil. And he was sharing this story with me. And I'm in my professional career, everyone, is I heard a lot about the impact I've made on people. And I was like, yeah, man, no, yep, thank you, appreciate you, yep, glad I could help. And the next conversation, he goes, hey, I heard you used to be a police officer. And I was like, yeah, I was. And he goes, my dad was a police officer too. And I was like, yeah, really, where was he at? And he ends up being in the same county I was. And he was a trooper that had arrested me. So just sitting there at this point in time, I am overwhelmed because I'm like, all right, hang on here. What life took away, life is giving me back in this moment. So it was probably there that I really was like, hold on. There's more to your life than you're giving yourself credit for. And life is positioned, took you out of this one thing with this person to reinsert you in this positive way, with the same trooper's family. So that's when I really dialed in on, like, I'd spent a lot of time in personal development, but the last 6 years have been really, really dedicated to, figuring those things out, helping people understand that, when that one door closed, I didn't think nothing else was opening. And man, it turned on a set of events. How could the one thing that was the absolute worst thing that ever happened to me in 2007 turn around and be one of the best things for me to be able to impact the lives? So now figuring out what made me tick and why I did the things I did, and walking through my childhood and getting right with, my relatives and me as a young person. And then understanding that, life's going to put you on the path that you're supposed to be on at any given time. And as much as I want it to be where I want it to be, it don't always work out like that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that story. I was going to ask you too, because the first time I heard that, I got the chills, and I can't imagine how you would have felt in that moment.
It's to this day. And me, like, here's like, I ran outside and I called one of my friends, police officer, called him. He's like, you're not going to freaking believe what's going on right now and who I'm sitting beside. And he's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. I was like, I didn't know how the son, because then the trooper had to relocate because he had arrested a cop, and I had affected their life. So I was super worried, because the one thing that I got a DUI, it affected me, my department, but I didn't hurt nobody. And I was always worried about, like, all right, what if I'd have hurt someone? And here I am now. I'm like, man, how did I affect this guy's life? Am I going to be as the positive, or is he going to be happy knowing? I waited for about a year because I was processing it, and I went and I talked, I worked with different, I went from a preacher to a spiritual healer, just talking about this story and this journey and getting all the input I could. And I got to the point to where I wanted to start telling the story. And I had reached out for him. It's like, hey, let's go have dinner one night. I hadn't seen you in a while. And I sat down and I told him, I was like, hey, you remember telling me that story? Goes, yeah. And I said, didn't your dad have to relocate? He goes, yeah, he did, man. He did. And I go, you know why he had to relocate? He was like, why? I said, because of me. And I sat there and cried like a baby, telling him the story. And then he got to fill in. This is a part where I was lost, because my ego wouldn't let me go talk to the trooper. I just wanted the trooper to know that, hey, man, I was a good cop. I was not the the drunk shithead you arrested on the side of the road that night, that I had made more impact. And man, so I got to hear all that through the son. And me and him, like, he shared with me the trooper struggle and his part of it, and how he affected me. And this is what I told him, in public safety and police work is, and now in coaching, and I don't know how you guys are, but like with me, it's like you always hear if you can reach one person, if you can, in your life, if you can affect one person's life, then your career and all the hell you put yourself through has been worth it. That trooper making that decision that night to arrest me absolutely was the best thing that ever happened to me. he made the right decision because it gave me the ability to be here. I think his actions that night, as hard as they were, turned out to be one of the best decisions that ever happened to me. And to the point where I don't talk, I'll tell you guys, because I think hopefully y'all would appreciate this, was in my hometown, they've got a little public safety area. I secretly went down and had that trooper's name engraved on a stone for his service and for the impact that he made on me to allow me to go out and tell this story and do the things that I get to do after he's done passed and gone. So that's the other cool little part that I enjoy is just tying him into the positive outcome of what he was able to do for me that night.
Yeah, that's such a special piece of it. So thank you for sharing that with us. Self-discipline and guidance of others, helping build others' mindset. That's crazy. Let's try to scroll down. We have a lot of comments. I want to make sure we get to them before we hop off here. Jeff, God had other plans for your future. Yeah. That was a great step moving forward, no matter what life struggles, especially after the DUI. It gave you the kick that you needed to be able to step up. It sucks when you have to start over. I was there years ago when one door closes, bring out the RAM and find the other doors. Master keys always help. Yeah, totally. So happy that you turned your life around. God found the truth path, running in the woods. Great point focus. Wow, that's crazy. Great motivation in helping others. Yeah. So this is really incredible. And, a lot of people don't get to have a closing of a chapter like that in the way that you did. So what a gift to call it what you want, divine intervention, I think, to be able to just.
That's just what Lynn Lewis, if you ever get a chance, that's what she told me one time. She goes, that ain't nothing but divine intervention, Jeff Robertson.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think you hit it there too. Is I think we all have our moments. Mine's a little more amplified because I asked for that. I'm like, make this. I'm missing what you're trying to show me. Sometimes I'll just say it out loud. So sometimes my moments become like, oh, blew up in your face. Other folks see the realizations and like, this is on my little path or my journey. They'll find the steps. I'm not that. So it has to be very blunt for me. So I think that's why too. But I think that's what I would tell you is when you're in that moment and you're like throwing your hands up and you're out of breath and you're like, what the crap is going on, is just stop and ask, all right, what lesson am I supposed to be learning here? What is life trying to teach me? Those are the things I pause now and do when I start to get a little out of sorts, is I just stop instead of trying to be like, fight against you or whatever, like, hold on here. What are you trying to show me? That's helped me a lot too, find those moments, because I think we get them way more often than what we realize. We're just stuck in not being able to see it.
Yeah. And, a lot of times too, people think that when it comes to hiring a coach or getting in the personal development space, that it always means that like things have to be going like shit in order for me to be able to need something like that. And it's such a bad misconception for a lot of coaches, even that don't express that. And so I think it's important to point out that even if you think you're at like the highest peak in your life, one of the best decisions that I made was investing as much money as I have and as much time and dedication, because we pay attention to what we pay for, right? So if we're not investing in ourselves in that capacity, then it's going to be like one of those freebies that we get at a conference that we take home and end up tossing anyways. So I think it's really cool.
And you don't realize how many, when I went through my DUI, is they said, Jeff, go get some help, go get some counseling. And at some point in time, I'll come back and we can unpack all the things. We can walk through childhood. And I was at the point where I was like, okay, y'all find somebody who's walked in my shoes. Now, through just even my life experience and my earned experience and yours and other, now we have more coaches and people out there that actually have walked where you walked at. And they are standing by to say, hey, look, might cost you a little bit of time, might cost you, a small fee to get in just because you're covering time. But there's a lot of folks that are like me that have a similar situation that can say, all right, this is what you're getting ready to go up against. This is where your days are going to go. And this is how we can overcome that. But there's a lot of like-minded individuals that are out there that have come out to say, hey, we're here to help too.
Yeah, totally. I didn't know that, Jim, about your cousin. So that's cool. And before we wrap this up, Jeff, if you could just tell us how we can get a hold of you, how can somebody reach out to you maybe for public speaking or coaching themselves? And also Jim wants to know, have you thought about writing a book about what you went through and where your life has turned around to?
Yeah, it's on my table. I use AI a little bit, like I'll journal some things, try to use some of my podcast recordings. So I have been working on a little bit of the book side. I try to do more podcasting to talk about it as well. Instagram, I'm very active on. If you want to shoot the breeze, send me a message on Instagram. It's at Jeff, Rabason. My name's Robertson, but if you take all the vowels and consonants out like we do down where I'm from, as we call it, Robertson.
I was going to ask you what that was about. So thank you for sharing that. I was like, this is different than his name. Yeah.
It's my name is Jeff Robertson, but my growing up in rural Franklin County, we remove all the unnecessary enunciations. So, but Jeffrey, my website's my name, jeffreyrobertson.com. If you get lost, if you go there, there's a contact form, a schedule with me, and links to all my socials. But if you send me a message through Instagram, love catching up, shooting the breeze, and like you said, is I created a I'll tell this is a great story too. I don't have time for it, but what I speak under now is called Endodyne. And Endodyne is, I call it the Endodyne Initiative. And it's basically helping, whether it's a business owner who's struggling in business or what have you, it's helping you discover your power within. So my Endodyne Initiative is like a leadership program that I have that I can spin up any kind of length of keynote and then turn it into ever how many hour workshop that you need, whether it's inside of your firehouse, your police department, public safety, or any kind of small business or anything along that. It's really working to help find that you are the absolute problem in your life, but you're also the absolute solution, and you hold all the answers. So my Endodyne leadership program is something that is out there as well, and you'll find that at my website, jeffreyrobertson.com.
Well, I think Jim is probably more excited than you are for your book to come out. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that, Jeff. And when it does, let us know, and we'll definitely have you come back on the show. Clint, thank you for putting his website down below. If you guys have any questions for Jeff, go ahead and drop them down below, or you can reach out to him directly. And Jeff, thank you so much for coming on and sharing time with us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Appreciate everything you all do. Keep going. If you get stuck, don't suffer in silence. There's plenty of people, like Ash myself, we're out here just wanting to help you navigate your life. So definitely don't suffer in silence. But thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you.